You're certainly someone that creates for yourself. If you want something, you're not always the kind of person that just goes and asks for it. You say, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can figure this out myself. And, as we shift to this podcast, this was another one of those examples. So, when music wasn't working out for you, you switched something. You didn't necessarily ask. You said, I got to change something. And when you started drumming again at SeaWorld, you said, you know what? I think this would be cool. I'm going to go create something. And when you came into UDB, you also have been creating every single day, but specifically with Fem Forte, this was born out of something. And there's a lot of somethings, but I think it'd be really interesting to hear from you. What was the first reason that you wanted to start Fem Forte? If you could pin it down to one, maybe two things, two reasons of why you wanted to start this podcast, what would those be?
I would say, in my music career, specifically being a female percussionist in a male-dominated world, I'm super passionate about female empowerment and female support. And I've been very fortunate to have the people around me be very supportive of me. But I've also noticed the gaps in other parts of our community that unfortunately don't have that. So I would say that's number one, just in my personal upbringing and my personal experiences. But I would also say being a part of UDB and having more intimate contact with female performers, female educators who are in this industry and community, I've been able to have those conversations and really get a wider scope or a wider perspective of some of their experiences and how that is affected in our community. And so because I realized not only are women in general underrepresented, but also I have this thing where I feel like if someone doesn't do it, I will kind of mentality. Again, I don't plan on changing the world, but I want to at least do some part in my community because it's better than doing nothing.
As a follow-up to that, we've had some conversations off camera, and you're at the end of season 1. And one of the things that you have mentioned to me is that what you thought it might be at the beginning is not quite how it ended up to be in terms of the process or the people or what the people said on the podcast. So can you go back to 3 months ago before you shot your first interview? Where was your mindset? What did you think was going to happen before you shot those episodes? What kind of stories did you think you were going to hear? What kind of people did you think you'd bring on? And what did you think the outcome was going to be?
Yeah, when I first started this, the original tagline was, oh yeah, I want to inspire and empower young women and have real conversations about female performers and educators that have struggled as women in this community. But I learned that it's not always that. There is also a pool of women who have also been very fortunate to not necessarily experience those struggles. But it's also, while it's important to have those conversations, it's also shouldn't be the identity of what the podcast is, because we're not necessarily trying to spread negativity and have a pity party of things that we've struggled with, but it's also in relation just celebrating human beings. I've learned through the last couple of months that it's not about always having difficult conversations. It's just celebrating them and their accomplishments as human beings in general. And at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is about, is creating a space for awesome people to come on and to share their story and their experiences.